Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today for this Giving Day Storytelling Made Easy webinar. We're so excited to chat with you about one of my favorite topics leading up to a Giving Day, all about how to tell powerful stories that attract and empower donors to support your cause on your Giving Day. My name is Bridget Cafaro, and I'm the Customer Success Manager here at GiveGab, a tech platform for a variety of Giving Days, who's really excited to partner with Kimbia as they join the GiveGab family to provide as many resources and tools for success as possible to all nonprofits participating in Giving Days across the country. I'm also joined by one of our Giving Day Customer Success Project coordinators, Rebecca.
Hi, everybody. We're really excited to tell you all about the great things that's involved with storytelling to help your fundraising efforts.
Awesome. Thanks, Rebecca. And just a few housekeeping notes before we jump into today's presentation. You are all on mute to keep the noise levels to a minimum. However, we do encourage any questions or common themes, or you have a story to share yourself about your Giving Day campaign. Please take a moment to locate the Q&A panel or the chat panel on your Zoom webinar controls. This is your access to chat with Rebecca and I throughout the presentation. We'll always make sure to leave some time at the end for you for us to address any questions or concerns that you have. And this webinar is also being recorded, so we'll make sure to share it out after the event right on this handy dandy nonprofit Giving Day toolkit, which you may have seen, where we have those other webinars that are coming up over the next few weeks. You'll be able to find the recording of this webinar here, as well as some other awesome resources and other webinars to help you prepare and feel excited and ready for your Giving Day. And with that, let's jump right in. So, storytelling. As a nonprofit administrator, you've probably heard about storytelling and the significance of storytelling and why it's so important over and over and over again. And that's true. It is incredibly important, especially in the digital age, because storytelling actually provokes active listening and participation. So I know every organization has a laundry list of statistics and data points of all the amazing things you're able to accomplish. But that's not a story. That doesn't compel people to want to support your cause and be a part of your mission in action. So by telling a really compelling story that has those key elements of a story itself, so thinking about a beginning, a middle, an end, something that really lays the foundation of the work that your organization does and how your specific supporters can be a part of that story, is really crucial to how successful you are, not just on your Giving Day, but in all of your fundraising campaigns throughout the year. But specifically on your Giving Day, it's a really powerful tool that can empower donors to actually be a part of the story that you're telling. So when you think about it, a long time ago, ideas were really shared orally. They were passed from person to person, meaning that it was really survival of the fittest. As what stories kind of lived or let die, people kind of controlled what stories survived. But now things have really changed. In the last 100 years, people really turned into more consumers instead of active participants, with TV and broadcasts really making storytelling kind of focused in that way. So we're in the digital age, which means people actually have a choice. They can decide what stories they're seeking out, what stories they're skipping, what stories they're kind of learning more about in their free time. People now have the control to listen to the stories they want to listen to and tune out the rest. That's what makes telling a compelling story and tying that in to your mission and your Giving Day goals so crucial to your overall success. Not just on the Giving Day, but really as far as engaging your supporters year-round. So how does storytelling and online giving really go together? Well, we find that lower capacity donors and online donors specifically really give emotionally. So when I say that, I mean people aren't really sitting down at their computer analyzing whether or not they should make a gift, because a lot of them aren't major donors who are making a large investment in your mission. They're really just compelled to donate by a social media post, by a friend that asks them to give. So they're really thinking with their hearts. And this is crucial for storytelling, because if someone is really moved by the things that you're saying, they're much more likely to give. And that is especially true with online donors. we find that an online donor is typically taking the same amount of time to determine whether or not they're going to make a donation to your organization as they would deciding what restaurant to go to for dinner that night. So you're really only thinking about it for a few minutes, and it needs to be really compelling, kind of in your face, so that that decision is even easier for you to make. And I think with online giving especially, people sometimes now don't even have to get up to their bag or their wallet to go find their credit card. They can literally sit on their couch from their phone, they can be on their computer, have all that information at their fingertips. So that giving is as easy as, pushing a few buttons, or if you're on your phone, a few taps of your thumb. It's easier than ever for donors to be emotionally compelled to give and have the capacity to give immediately. So that's where storytelling and online giving really complement each other and can help you increase your overall online engagement. And making your donors a part of the story you're telling, whether they're the heroes of your story or whether they're helping those beneficiaries, highlighting their commitment to your cause, that's really going to kind of help them feel that by participating in this giving day with you, by making a donation to your cause, that the story isn't just yours to tell, but it's theirs to tell as well. And by empowering those supporters with their own personal stories of why they're so passionate about your mission and making it move forward, you're actually helping those people spread the word about the work you're doing. So it can really go a long way just by putting together a really compelling and easy to follow, digestible story. So storytelling is awesome. We all want everyone to utilize these tools, but what are some easy steps that you can follow to start going down the path of storytelling success? Well, first, you want to identify the key details and key assets of your organization's story. So those really basic details, like when you were founded, what are the key values and mission statement of your organization? What are your core challenges that you face and that you hope to resolve by the work that you're doing? Thinking about these things is obviously one of the most important things you can do to really start building a story, because this is where you're going to pull a lot of those elements from. Who are the people that you're serving? Who are your board members? What really makes your organization special? And then, of course, tying in your Giving Day goals to this is about Giving Day storytelling. When you are participating in a Giving Day, it's crucial to set specific and attainable goals ahead of the actual event. So whether it's a monetary goal, a donor engagement goal, maybe you have a board engagement goal, there's lots of different goals you can have, but your story should help tell supporters how they can help you achieve that specific goal. Because when you have your goals in mind as you're creating your story, it's going to be a lot more authentic. It's going to connect the dots in a much easier fashion for your supporters, because the less time your supporters have to take thinking about what their donation actually does, how it can actually help you reach your goals, if it even will help you reach your goals, the less likely they're going to give. So you want to cut down the amount of time donors are thinking and really maximize the amount of time they're feeling. So based on that, based on the story you decide to tell, you want to determine the best way to actually tell your story. And this is really reliant on your supporter base, how they like to be communicated with, how they like to be engaged, and how your organization plans on handling, the storytelling. Maybe you want to try something new this year. You've never really played with video too much, but you think a video would be the most compelling way to feature a beneficiary or a board member or tell some sort of story about your cause. And so this is going to really depend on your organization's capacity and the preference of your supporters. So figuring out if you want to kind of tell the story over social media, or send a couple of emails leading up to the day, or create a video and share that out. All of those different things are just different ways to tell your story in multiple mediums, and every supporter base is different, every organization is different, so that's something you can decide internally based on the resources you have and the supporter base that you have. And this next step, sharing your story across multiple access points, and this is not just for your story, but with any giving day you're participating in, you want to make sure you're promoting that giving day and including elements of the story that you're telling around the giving day in as many places as possible that your supporters may stumble upon it. And this allows anybody from any point of access to know exactly what they need to do to help you make a difference on the actual day. So including things on your profile, on your website, on your social media accounts, in your emails, in your email signature. That's one of my favorite little places to kind of, add a link to my Giving Day profile, let people know that this is coming, or maybe you have a video that's specific to your Giving Day or the story that you're telling, linking to that there in different places. Just making sure to cover all of your bases where someone may stumble upon information about your organization, or places where you might be directing people for other reasons, so that they have the capacity to join in and they're not missing out. At GiveGab, that's one of the #1 things we hear from donors after Giving Days, is they just wish they knew about it. They didn't really hear about it until the day of, and they wish they didn't really see anything on a website or on anyone's social media pages until the day. So don't feel like you're overwhelming people by putting different things in multiple places, because I guarantee you no one person is going to be in all of those places unless they're on your staff or super passionate. And if you have those kind of supporters, that's pretty awesome. And then lastly, you do, of course, want to leverage this story in your overall Giving Day campaign. So this is kind of, it does reflect back on your goals. It's aligned with those key details of your organization. And all the promotions tied to the Giving Day on your profile, pretty much anywhere where you can tell a story, you do want to tie this into what you're actually aiming to achieve on the Giving Day. So let's say you're fundraising for a specific program. And that program has, beneficiaries from last year who are talking about, how they were affected, how great the program was, what they got out of it. You want to leverage those stories into that specific goal, because if a supporter or potential donor sees, that you're fundraising for this specific upcoming program, and last year you were able to raise, however much, and you supported this many people, and here's one of those people talking about how awesome that experience was and how much you made a difference in their life, that is going to compel that donor so instantaneously to want to be a part of this story with you. So thinking about your goals, thinking about what your supporters really like to see, like to engage with, maybe thinking about trying something new if you've participated in multiple Giving Days, or even if this is your first Giving Day. Giving Days are such a fantastic opportunity to try new things, play with new tools, create a video, try new social media platforms, learn more about your supporters and how they enjoy engaging with you, so you can continue to improve for all the Giving Days to come. So stories are obviously powerful, and they're the most powerful when they come from people. So gathering powerful stories from the people who are already passionate about your work can make a big difference in motivating a potential donor to give. These are just a few ideas of people you can ask for their stories, for their connections to your cause. Of course, your beneficiaries are always the #1 stories that motivate donors, because they're actually seeing where their gift makes an impact and how those people have benefited from the work your organization does. Because most of the time, people aren't giving to an organization, they're giving to other people. People want to give to people. And this can be incredibly motivating when someone knows that just by donating $5, $10, $25, that's affecting a human being. So that can go a long way, but every organization is different. And we know that some organizations don't really have the capacity to highlight their beneficiaries for privacy reasons. And we definitely want to respect our beneficiaries and make sure we're not putting them in a spotlight if that's not where they want to be. And so if that's the case, there are so many other people you can gather powerful stories from that still speak to your organization's mission and the work that you do, like your volunteers. If you have a strong volunteer base, this is such an incredible group to tap into, not just because they dedicate their time to serving your mission, but because of that, they've actually seen your mission in action. So they might not have directly benefited from the work that you do, they've participated in the work that you do. They can see the impact in real time. If you have any lifelong volunteers, I always love reading a good volunteer testimonial, because these are the people that live and breathe your mission, that care about it so deeply that even though they might not have the capacity to support you monetarily, they still show up every year after year, every week, to make sure that you're able to accomplish what you need to accomplish. So these can be really powerful stories if you're talking about the volunteer base that you have. And on top of volunteers, your donors. These are those people who've invested financially in moving your organization forward. Why have they done that? Why do they care about your cause? You probably have some donors who've been around for a while that you have a really great relationship with. Next time you have a cup of coffee with them, ask them, what compelled you to make that first gift? What is your original connection to this cause? It's so easy to forget later down the line, if you steward that relationship with your donor, sometimes why they actually donated in the first place, and how you can leverage those existing relationships to talk about the wonderful work your organization continues to do. And then lastly, from your staff. Your staff are the people who have worked directly with your mission in action. Your team knows best the work that you do. This is a great chance to highlight that work, what you're doing every week. You know, I've seen organizations do like a staff spotlight in the weeks leading up to a giving day, highlighting the project that person is working on, their favorite thing about the organization. There are so many creative ways you can get different groups of people involved to help tell the stories that matter to your cause. So just some sample questions, and I won't go into too much detail. Be sure to add the slides and send those out afterwards. You do have access to these sample questions. But here you can see there are a couple different ways you can actually steward these relationships and ask these questions to get the best possible story from your supporters. So for your beneficiaries, you really want to focus on what challenges they were facing prior to connecting with your organization. How do they feel facing them? Feelings are what's really going to motivate people. So if you talk about how someone was feeling, or how a donor was feeling, how a volunteer was feeling, people really connect to that. So it can be incredibly powerful to use that kind of language in your story and from your beneficiaries especially. Talk about when they utilized the service or program, what programs they found the most helpful, maybe what specific help they received to resolve their challenges. And I love this question. If you were able to speak face-to-face with a donor, what would you say? If you do have the capacity and your beneficiaries are open to participating in this kind of thing, that can be a really powerful video going around to those people who are directly benefiting your cause, asking them, to say, if you could, speak to a donor that helped fund this program, what would you say? It makes everyone feel really good, from the donors to your board members to your staff to the beneficiaries themselves who are opting in to be highlighted and be featured for being a part of your organization. Can be incredibly, incredibly powerful. And then for your donors, especially your higher level donors, maybe your board members, those people who give year after year and are committed to supporting your organization, but also for new donors. I think I know a couple of organizations that I've worked with who, after someone donates for the first time, they actually send an automated email being like, we're so happy that you've joined us. We'd love to hear more about you and why you made your first gift. And they just respond to the email. And, it's not something they really seek out. And, not everyone is going to reply to an email thanking them for a gift. We all know that. But if you don't send out the email or try in some way to capture these stories, you're not going to capture them. So whether it's from new donors or existing donors, asking them, how did you hear about us? What actually made you decide to make your first gift? Because while you might not think donors, have, a great story to tell since they're a donor, thinking about the personal connection that they have to your cause, whether it's a relative, a friend, someone who was affected by the work you're trying to improve, things like that, those are really personal. And if another donor identifies with that existing donor who gave for the same reason, they're much more likely to give. So you'd be surprised how compelling these donor stories can be. Talk about how they feel when they make a gift to your organization, how they felt maybe if they supported a specific project or campaign that you worked on. What did that make them feel like? Because if a donor can put a prospective donor can put themselves in an existing donor's shoes and they feel really good and comfortable in those shoes, that's where you want them to be. You want them to feel empowered to be a part of your organization's mission, like so many before them. And then for volunteers, asking again, how did you get involved with our organization? Talk about the actual activities that they're helping you with, or maybe a specific moment when they were volunteering that really stood out to them and kind of speaks to the work that you do and why they continue to volunteer. These are, again, really motivational, especially if you're looking for more volunteers, but as for donors as well, because it shows that by making a gift to your organization, clearly there are people working hard to move that mission forward. It's a good investment because these people are dedicating their time to making that mission possible. And then lastly, for your awesome staff or whatever team is working with you on your giving day, talking to them about what's your favorite part about working at this organization? Do they have any personal connections to the cause? More likely than not, you have someone that really is personally motivated to move your mission forward, even though they are on your actual staff. Talk about a specific moment, a project where they could see that positive action. And then talk about what you're most excited for your organization's future. Again, all really, really powerful ways to capture those feelings from the people that care about your organization most. So how do you actually collect these stories? Like I mentioned, a couple organizations I know of do kind of have a reply to this email and, we'll follow up with you, or getting that kind of information that way, or including calls to action in other emails that you might be sending. Maybe you want to send a specific email about, we're gathering stories for the Giving Day. We want to highlight you and feature you. That's one way you can do it. Creating a little survey is a great way to easily collect and stay organized with the stories that you're telling, so that, if you want to continue to collect stories throughout the year, which I would recommend, you have a place you can always keep track of those, know when to highlight someone, how to highlight someone. It also allows them to kind of go through that process in their own time, maybe add a photo, depending on what survey tool you're using. There's so many free and easy to use survey tools you can utilize here. Have them write up some, answers to questions that you set up. Make it really, really easy for them to be a part of this with you, because the easier you make it for the people providing these stories, the more likely they're going to provide the story for you. So setting that up to be as easy as possible. Maybe have an activity at your next board meeting. All you need is 15 minutes and a few pieces of paper. Ask your board members, like with those probing questions, what is your personal connection to this cause? Why are you on this board? Really pulling that information out of them in a way that's going to get them excited about your Giving Day and excited to actually share that story as they support you on the Giving Day itself, whether they're a social ambassador, helping you with an event, just sending an email to their network, whatever they could possibly do to share their own personal stories out to their network is going to motivate more people to donate. Because like I said, people give to people. When your people have empowering stories that are personal to them, their personal network is going to listen and they're going to support that person. Another opportunity, if you do have like a high traffic area, like a theater space, a kitchen area, somewhere where volunteers are regularly gathering, or a place you maybe have, meeting space or lobby space, consider making like a little box and leaving some notepads and pens out so that you maybe can create a little banner that has the actual question you want people to answer. Try to keep this a little focused so you're not getting, too many responses or things get a little out of hand and get hard to manage. Maybe ask one single question, have people write it down on a piece of paper, or maybe stick it to a little, post-it wall in your lobby, or something that they can, proudly identify if you want to go that way. But that's just another way you can kind of capture that information to make sure it is good to go. All right. So I've talked a lot about storytelling and the different people you can ask for stories, but now I'm going to go into a little more detail about, how you can actually tell these stories in a couple of different ways. So here are 6 different types of storytelling that you can utilize to really make sure this Giving Day is a success and that you're telling a story that your supporters can identify with. So again, there are many different ways to tell your story. These are just 6 different types that I find really easy to latch onto and can be a great starting point as you start to build these ideas and flesh out your campaign. So first we have your founding story, how your organization came to be, why it exists, what caused a need for this type of mission. Another type is a focus story. So really thinking about the core challenges that you tackle, as well as why you exist, why it's so important that your mission is moving forward. Next is those impact stories. These are probably my favorite because these are those stories of the people who are directly impacted by the work that you do. Whether it's your supporters, your beneficiaries, all those people that we just kind of went over, these impact stories really highlight how people have been affected by your organization, how communities, environments, whoever is affected by the work that you do, how and why that is a positive effect. People stories are really kind of spotlights on your donors, your staff, really talking about their personal story and why it's so important for them. And then your strength story is kind of unique. It's really about how your specific approach to this issue adds value. So this is what sets your organization apart, whether you do things a little bit differently or you have a unique approach to solving a specific problem. A strength story is a great way to highlight that. And then lastly, your future story. So really thinking about, in an ideal world, what your work will lead to. What you're chipping away at every day. What's your big picture goal? What your supporters can do to help build that future. All right, so your founding story. This is a great starting point, especially for newer organizations that are just, dipping their toes in the water and people don't really know about you yet. So you do want to give a little bit of background about who you are and why you exist. So some key questions to ask yourself for a founding story are, what motivated the founders to actually start this organization? Did they have a personal connection to the cause that made them say, I need to do something about this? What was that connection? How did they utilize that to move your mission forward? What problem were they trying to solve by creating your organization? And then what's the actual solution to the problem that you're trying to solve? How is your organization coming together in your specific approach as you're getting started to kind of solve these issues? And then, of course, the details of when, where, and how your organization came to be, especially with storytelling. This can be really powerful because you kind of have that like once upon a time kind of feel. You're setting the stage. It does kind of compel people to be a part of that. All right. So here's an example of a founding story. This is an example from a GiveGab Giving Day sample profile. So here you'll see that it does provide a little bit of context to when and why the founder actually started this organization. It also has a beginning, middle, and end, which sounds so silly in a storytelling webinar, stress about the beginning and middle of an end of a story, but it really is so important. And with online giving, again, it makes it so much easier for your supporters to follow if there's kind of a beginning, a middle, and an end, so that when they get to that end, they know exactly what they need to do to compel your supporters to give. This story is also really personal and easy to understand. So it's tied to, the founders, why she started this organization, why she's so compelled to solve this problem. And you can see here, it's really easy for me to flow through this information, know exactly what she did with these kind of, header titles here that break up that flow. But all I have to do is kind of scan over this information, and I know exactly how this organization was founded. I know why it exists. I know how my donation can help continue to foster this mission. Right, so your focus story, and this is really kind of your mission, your vision, your values as an organization, highlighting that and telling a story in that way. So thinking about how does your organization's work and impact connect to your ultimate beneficiaries? How are they being served, and what are the core challenges that you tackle? Kind of focusing again on why your organization exists. What are you really working to either fight against or improve or make better? There are so many different things your organization probably does. There might not just be one challenge, but really focusing it in on those key themes that, again, make it really easy for potential donors to understand how they can make a difference. So tying that into your community as well, thinking about who your community is. If you're participating in, a local giving day, you're probably reaching out to that specific region, the people served in that area. But, connecting the dots, making sure that those people know where their impact is going locally can make a big difference in what you're focusing on, whether it's for the giving day or your organization as a whole. So here again is another example. You can see here that we're connecting specific information together. So we're talking about who is being helped, who is helping them, and what helps them. So it kind of puts all of this information in one easy to find place. And again, I feel like this is silly to say, but a picture really does tell 1,000 words. So including visuals in your Giving Day campaign everywhere you possibly can, on social media especially, can really increase engagement and draw someone's attention to your posts. Even if you don't have a ton of photos handy, or you're not able to share, specific photos of people at your organization or those beneficiaries, there are so many great free stock photo tools you can use. Now that most people have smartphones, at your next volunteering event or next day at work, you can just kind of snap away. I always say if you just kind of click away like 100 times and just take a bunch of photos, at least a dozen of those photos are going to be really good and usable in some kind of content. So anyone can add photos to your Giving Day campaign, and I think a photo is also a great example of a focus story, because with one photo you can really highlight the core mission of the work that you're doing and how all of those pieces come together for both your donors, your organization, and the people being served. And speaking of the people being served, next we have your impact stories. So this specific type of storytelling really identifies those people who are being directly affected by the work that you do and how you actually make a difference in the lives of the people you serve. So thinking about what those core challenges are and how you're helping these supporters solve or those beneficiaries solve those problems. Thinking about what their life was like before your organization or before they, participated in an event with you or were benefiting from your programs. And then what was it like after? How did that really make a difference in their life? Why is it so important that your organization exists for them personally? And then, of course, how your donors tie into that. How a donor actually made an impact on that specific person. Why funding is so crucial to continue to make more stories like this possible. So here we have an example. It does, again, have a beginning, a middle, and an end. So we have kind of an example of before someone was engaged with the organization, as well as details after that person engaged with the organization. So you have, a dog before the nonprofit existed, a supporter, a dog lover before the organization existed, and then that last kind of closing paragraph really highlights how the organization itself brought those two people together, made a difference in both of their lives, both the donor and the beneficiary, in this case, the dog, to make their lives better and to continue to further the mission of your cause. So you can see here, it provides really clear calls to action and details to make it really feel like you're telling a story. Here was Buster, and then he was all alone, and then Emily came along and she saved the day because she found Logan's pups, and Logan's pups brought them together to be to save this animal and put a happy family together. So this is a really important, and again, you can tell these impact stories in so many different ways. I think this is probably the one you can have a little bit of fun with, whether it's a video, whether it's, testimonials, people really speaking on behalf of the work that you're doing is just probably the most motivational thing you can do to empower your donors to make that possible. Because I'll say it probably a million times, but people really do give to people. And speaking of people, I swear that segue was not planned, but your people stories, these are really focused not just on the people who are impacted by your work, but those who are actually passionate about the work you're doing. Your board members, your volunteers, your donors, your sponsors, local businesses, people who are, regularly engaging with your organization in one way or another, really taking the time to find out why. Why your organization? Why do they continue to support your organization? And how do they support the work that you do? Whether it is, acting as a member of a board, or as a volunteer, as a donor. There's so many different ways to support your organization. Who are the people actually supporting it? These make really great testimonials, so having kind of a photo of your board member and maybe the story of why they support your board and what they hope to see your organization do going forward. This is a great way to motivate prospects to actually follow in your supporters' footsteps. So this is a really fun way to get people involved. You can highlight, a specific board member, you can highlight a volunteer, and this is something you can do on so many mediums. I know a lot of organizations that actually do that like every week in their newsletter, they highlight a different supporter, whether it is a board member, a volunteer, somebody on their website, anywhere. You can highlight these awesome people in as many places as you want on any day that you want. But on your giving day, especially if these people are helping you be successful, this is a great opportunity to not just share their stories, but to steward the relationship with those existing supporters. And then next we have our strength stories. So the strength stories are a little different. This is how your organization actually provides a specific approach that provides value to your community and your constituents. So thinking how your organization is a little bit different in your approach to solving these problems or making a difference in your community. What services do you provide that other organizations don't, or that are really different in the community that you live in? Think about what's unique to your approach, how you solve problems, and what your greatest strengths as an organization are. This is really for those unique organizations that have something that just makes you stand out, that really identifies your mission and your approach to solving these problems as being really powerful and unique. And then your future stories. So these are, your organization's dreams, your goals, where you hope to be in the future. Thinking about your vision, thinking about, what your short-term goals are, yes, but what your long-term goals are. because even though these, lower capacity online donors might just be thinking about the next project, the next little thing that they can make an impact on, thinking about the bigger picture is also a really compelling way to highlight the work that you're doing, because prospects can really see how they can help make your ideal future a reality. And thinking about, how will the world and your community, be a better place after your mission has been successfully executed or is being successfully executed. A lot of this change is happening in real time, but thinking about the bigger picture and what you can do to move your organization forward and keep your organization sustainable, and how donor support makes a big difference in that, will not only kind of help your donors see that you do have a plan for the future, you're going to be here, you're going to be making a difference, and how they can help you do that, linking your dreams to your donors' dreams. So here's an example of that. This is a different example. Sorry about that. So those were 6 different ways you can tell stories. There are obviously so many different stories that you can tell, but where do you actually, when you decide what your story is going to be, how you're going to promote the Giving Day, how are you actually going to share that story out? So your supporters, again, should find elements of this in more than one place. I always like to think cope, create once, post everywhere, whether that's a graphic that you make or, a link to a specific video that you're sharing. You want to make sure that you're, creating one piece of great content that you can use in as many places as possible, whether it's on your Giving Day profile, your social media profiles, making sure you're covering all of your bases in all of your emails, whether it's kind of general newsletters that go out or general emails that get sent to all of your supporters, or very Giving Day specific emails, as well as on your organization's website or any other place where your organization has a strong web presence. This can really make an enormous difference in making sure that every person who wants to support your organization can and knows exactly what they have to do to make a difference. And a great thing about participating in a Giving Day is that you do have this 24-hour kind of motivation in a lot of ways that no other day really has. This Giving Day is really unique. And you can create a story arc around that 24-hour period. So again, that beginning and middle and end that you might not just be telling in one single place. Maybe you break it down. The week leading up to Giving Day, you kind of start with, the beginning of a story. Remember, there was one Giving Day that happened in North Central Florida, the Amazing Give, and they had this incredible social media story for this organization that worked with children with pediatric cancer. And it was the story of this little girl, and the entire week leading up to the day, they kind of started from the beginning of her cancer journey, finding out she had cancer, to, the next day they posted about, her first treatment and her family going through all of those struggles. Throughout the week, all of these different elements of this, it was many years that this girl went through these issues and how this organization helped her. And then on the actual Giving Day, they posted a video of her ringing the remission bell in the children's ward of the hospital. And I think we were all kind of teary-eyed watching it. It was so incredibly motivating and so powerful. And I don't think you need an adorable, amazing child to tell a really powerful story. You can use the resources you have, the people who are passionate, breaking that down over a couple days so that people actually have a reason to check back on the actual Giving Day. Something I hear a lot from nonprofits who are participating in a Giving Day is that you don't want to overwhelm your supporters by sending communications out so much leading up to the event. But Giving Days are really unconventional in that way, and that you can break the rules of standard communication. You can, reach out to people every day. You can kind of amp up your social media posting. You can send out specific emails around these stories, because the people that want to listen will listen, and they'll feel like they are a part of this story with you. So leveraging your Giving Day goals, leveraging the ambassadors, those passionate supporters who are helping you tell these stories, especially those with a strong social following who can help you share these elements out, whether it's a video link that you encourage people to share out on the Giving Day, or maybe you are telling kind of a social media story arc throughout the day or the week leading up to the day, and how your supporters can really go on that journey with you is a great experience, especially if you're new to online giving, you don't have a really strong supporter base online yet. This is a great opportunity to kind of play around, test the waters, see what you're comfortable with, what your supporters really engage with. You never know, it could really surprise you. So some key takeaways about nonprofit storytelling for your Giving Day. storytelling really does allow donors to actively participate in your organization's mission instead of just processing it. So I love good data as much as the next girl, but really it's all about the feeling that your mission brings out, whether it's from the people you serve, the people who are supporting your mission, whoever it is. You want to make sure that that potential donor identifies with the changes being made, with the support and the passion, because it's those feelings that are going to motivate your online donors to make that gift in just a few minutes. And then asking your constituents and your supporters for those personal testimonials really does help prospects connect with your cause. So finding the time, figuring out a solution that works for your organization, and every organization is different, your capacity is different, your resources, your team members, but figuring out a way that works within your capacity to gather these stories and effectively share them will play a huge role, not just in your Giving Day efforts, but if you can find a way that works for your organization to gather and tell these stories year-round. Everyone is always looking for a story. Everyone is always looking for a reason as to why your organization matters. So these are things you can utilize year-round as you continue to engage with your supporters online and off. And keep in mind, there are always so many ways to tell your story. So find the best methods for you and your organization. If absolutely none of your supporters follow you on Twitter, definitely don't think about doing a live tweeting campaign. That might not be the best use of your time. But if maybe you have, your entire board really utilizes LinkedIn. I know that seems like kind of a funky social media tool, but I've seen a lot more organizations really utilize LinkedIn in the past couple of months. So getting all your board members to share out that video on LinkedIn, arm them with everything they need to help you do the work you need to do on your Giving Day. And that's another thing. Before your Giving Day, if you really do have a key story that you're telling that's tied to your goals, that you're really amplifying in all of your promotions leading up to the event, make sure that your supporters or your really close team members, your board members, those ambassadors who are going to be helping you on the actual day can actually know how to support you, know what your goals are, know the story that you're sharing, so that again, those existing supporters who are part of this planning process with you can be a part of it as well, and they can share it, they can encourage people to support you, they can really tie their own efforts into your organization's overall efforts, and that can really go a long way, again, not just in helping expand your reach by leveraging those ambassadors, but also by stewarding the relationship with your existing supporters by saying, hey, we know you love our organization, maybe they don't have the capacity to give a large gift during the day, and be like, we don't expect a gift, but we would just love it if you would maybe share a video on Facebook today, or maybe you have a post, we have a little giveaway, whoever shares the video on Facebook gets entered in to win, a movie gift card or something silly like that. Again, your organization is going to be, have its own unique way of doing things, and that's awesome. So think about the best ways that you can utilize these tools, these resources, this kind of, element of storytelling into your everyday work and into your Giving Day goals. All right, so that's about it for today's presentation. I do want to leave you with some really helpful resources that you can find in your nonprofit toolkit that we've put together for all y'all organizations that are participating in a Giving Day right now. So you can head to gvgb.co/NP Toolkit, linked right here. It is case sensitive, so make sure to use those capital letters. Or head to info.givegab.com/nonprofit Giving Day Toolkit. And here you'll find our upcoming webinar series. Our next webinar is in 2 weeks on March 15th at the same time. And it's all about ways to get your board ready for your Giving Day, one of my favorite topics on board engagement. So I hope you'll join us then, as well as this nonprofit Giving Day toolkit. So you can download a PDF with all these resources in it, communications guides, you name it, to help preparing for your Giving Day just a little bit easier. So definitely check out those resources, register for your next, Giving Day webinar. And of course, if you have any questions, we'll definitely stick around for a little bit to answer any questions you have about storytelling, or if anyone has a really awesome example of a story they've been telling or plan to tell for their Giving Day campaign, we'd love to hear it. So Rebecca and I will stick around for a few more minutes to hear those questions, field those questions, but thank you all so much for joining us today. We're so excited to partner with all of you and all of the organizations participating in a Giving Day. We are just so excited to be a part of all of these events with you. And again, if you have any questions about this presentation or how to sign up for future presentations or find those handy dandy links, You can email our team at customersuccess@givegab.com. Our support team is always super excited and happy to answer any questions that you have. We also love talking strategies. So if you have an online fundraising question, looking for some best practices, some tips, some resources, our team is always happy to point you in the right direction. So definitely reach out to us if you have any questions at all. And we will be sending out the recording as well as the slides to today's presentation. We'll be putting that up right on that toolkit page, as well as making sure that all of your Giving Day partners have access to these recordings to share with you, so you can review it at your leisure, look at these slides, especially some of those question slides. I know I kind of breezed through them. There's lots of great information in there. I hope you all can utilize for your Giving Day. All right. So now if we will automatically receive emails to let us know when the next webinars take place. I don't believe so. I think every Giving Day has kind of its own way of getting that information out. But you can definitely, if you actually just sign up for the webinars, it will automatically remind you. And then if you can't make it, it also is a great way to remind you that, hey, the toolkit is available, or that recording will be available tomorrow for you to watch, at your leisure. So while they won't be automatically emailed to you to remind you if you don't register, if you do register for the webinars ahead of time, you will be reminded. Hope that's helpful. All right, we're going to stick around for just another minute, but again, thank you all so much for joining us today. Again, we're really excited, and we wish you all the best of luck on your Giving Day. I hope you all have so much fun and are incredibly successful. And again, if you have any questions at all, please reach out to our team at customersuccess@givegab.com. All right, it doesn't look like we have any more questions right now, so I'll let you all hop off a little bit early. Thank you all so much. I hope you have a wonderful day.